The individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. It's Wednesday night, and this is the Journey Radio Show. Hey, we're showing up as the She-Squatchers. I'm your host, Jen Cruz, and I've got my trusty teammates on the line. I got Jenna Grover.
Hello. I hope you guys are having a great night today.
I've got Tammy Trickle.
Hi, everybody.
Tammy and I have since had a birthday since the last time you've seen us, so happy birthday to us.
Yeah, happy birthday.
It's still our birthday month, so feel free to send presents.
Yes, we would sing, you guys. We would sing, but we can't. Otherwise,
no
you get to
singing.
hear our beautiful voices.
No singing. But anyway, feel free to send presents. Ha ha. They think I'm kidding. Anyway, we have a wonderful show planned for you tonight. We've got Shetan Noir coming to us tonight. And Shetan, welcome to the show.
Hi, ladies, and it's wonderful, fantastic to finally be on the show with you. And I am looking forward to tonight's show. And who knows where the journey is going to take us, but it'll be fantastic.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, I know that you do Bigfoot events and you have the Squatch GQ magazine. Tell us some more about yourself. Like, tell us your background in relation to the cryptid world.
So I have had a fascination with cryptozoology and the paranormal since I was very young. I would say probably 9-ish. And it's just been a lifelong fascination. And when I was a teenager, I would read every book, article, whatever I could get my hands on. And kids nowadays have it so easy because they have the internet, the Google. We didn't have that when I was growing up. We had the library, or we had bookstores, and you could get these like novel-sized books that had a chapter on, like one would be on Bigfoot, one would be on Loch Ness, one would be on Atlantis, one would be on UFOs, and you kind of read it all just to, boost your knowledge base. And so the last, 20 years have been wonderful because you can go on the internet and you can research everything and connect with everybody. And it's helped because I have since written 2 books on cryptozoology. And like you said, I have the Squatch GQ publications, and I publish 4 different magazines every quarter with those magazines. And I'm probably going to add 2 more this fall. Because, like I need to sleep. Come on.
Who needs that?
Magazines that I currently offer is Squatch GQ publication. That is kind of a lot more open-based cryptozoology magazine. And then there's Cryptozoology Digest that has more in-depth articles on scientific analysis, evidence collecting, forensic science, eDNA, things that, appeal to the more scientific-minded cryptozoologist. I have Into the Liminal Abyss Paranormal magazine, which covers, of course, the paranormal, ufology, aliens, weird travels, high strangeness, anything that falls in those categories. That's what I cover with that magazine. And then my 4th magazine that I currently offer right now is Dinosauria and Prehistoric Creatures magazine. That is filled with interviews from top paleontologists on species that they are experts in. So the first issue was on ancient sharks. The second issue was a little bit more broad-based. It had articles and interviews in it about sauropod dinosaurs. So Brontosaurus, even though that's not actually a creature, a long neck right now, a sauropod. That's more, that one's called the Patagosaurus, but interviews about that, about the American cheetah that's gone extinct here in North America. Places that you can go fossil collecting in Michigan along our fossil coast. And then the fifth one that I will be producing this fall will be on rock hounding and prospecting. So anybody who's into gemstones or going and collecting your own or likes to go to the gem shows, fossil
Yes,
collecting.
please.
Yep, all the above. That's me. And then the sixth one is probably going to be a more upscale dog magazine on, you know, it's going to be called Bone Bark Petite instead of Bone Appetit. It's Bone Bark Petite, and it will be more for like traveling with your dog and how to get the intros into how to get, started into different sports, whether it's an AKC registered or UKC or one of these magical registries that pops up and registers designer breeds. I'm not judging because I have doodles. I ain't judging. Those keep me pretty busy, but in my spare time, I do presentations at public libraries, museums, paracons all the time, cryptozoology events all the time. I also teach at two different local community colleges, Owens Community College in Perrysburg, Ohio, and Kellogg Community College at both the Battle Creek and Hastings Ballroom. Two courses that I offer at those colleges is Cryptozoology of North America and the Paranormal History of the Great Lakes, all the Great Lakes. So those keep me pretty busy. And I've written a couple of books like Monsters and Odd Creatures of the Great Lakes and Mothman and Other Flying Creatures of the Midwest. When I get a chance, I will probably write another book. I haven't decided on the cryptid that I want to cover, maybe bipedal cryptids of North America. Who knows? And that's it in a nutshell. So I'm either researching, writing, traveling, presenting, or trying to catch what little sleep I do get.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wow, it sounds like you have absolutely no time to sleep. How do you do it?
I try to manage like 4 hours. I tell myself I can shut down like from like 4 a.m. to like 8 a.m. And if I can get more sleep in, like, hey, nobody's, figured out that I'm sleeping yet, I can sleep a little bit longer. But generally, people start contacting me around 10 a.m. and it's like, okay, I have to wake up. I have to, do business, adult stuff and get that done and go on with my day. So
That sounds exciting.
it is. It's always interesting what each day will bring and what different phone calls or text messages, emails I get from people who, hey, I heard you on that show last week, and I want you to be at my event, or I want you at on my show, or it travels fast, and it's like, okay, let me check my schedule and see if I'm actually in town that day or if I'm available that day. So it's a lot of checking emails and returning contacts.
Gotcha. I totally can understand that. It does take a lot of time sometimes for us too, and when people are like, hey, it seems like it's feast or famine sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But so how did you get interested in the cryptids?
So people are probably sick of hearing this story by now, but hey, this is a different show. You're a different host. I can tell it. So when I was a child, between the ages of, I would say 9 and 10, my family, like a lot of Midwestern families, loved to go camping for our summer vacations. And so this particular summer, my family had chosen a campground here in Michigan called Crystal Lake because the lake was crystal clear. You could see the bottom. As far out as you went into the lake, you could still see the bottom, which to most people was fantastic. But the next thing I'm going to mention is what made it horrifying for me. And that is the fact that at this particular campground, they had a 6-foot alligator living in a dog kennel. It had a cement bottom with a little pond that they had made in the cement. And they would tell the kids, oh, yeah, we pulled that alligator out of the lake. So there was no swimming. For me, there was no going fishing. You weren't going to get me out on the dock. You weren't going to get me in a boat because if the alligator came out, there had to be more. And of course, you weren't going to convince my 9-year-old, brain that it was any different than that. Well, one of the weekends that we were camping there, they decided that for family movie night, the best options that they were going to show were the Patterson Gimlin film and The Legend of Boggy Creek. Now, imagine a 9-year-old child sitting there watching this. You're in a campground surrounded by woods. Yeah, Bigfoot is real, and they're going to come running through the campground and grab little kids and take off with them. So I spent the next 45 minutes hiding in the women's bathroom, and 2 very nice older ladies escorted me back to the truck camper that my family was using. My brothers were sleeping in the tent outside, and I was like, nope, I'm done. Nope, nope. If there's Bigfoot out in those woods, then no, no. I will just sit here in the camper for the rest of the weekend, and that will be that. There's alligators in the lake. There's Bigfoots in the woods. Next thing I know, you're going to tell me that a goblin or something runs down the street and attacks people. So I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I'm staying in the camper. And so that was what started my interest into cryptozoology. And I remember getting subscriptions to Fate magazine at a very young age, I believe when I was 10. And that was the go-to magazine for everything in our field of research, whether it was cryptids, paranormal, UFOs. That was the magazine that covered it. And I remember reading cover to cover, every word in those magazines and being like, okay, this gives me a better picture of what's out there. And so I can honestly say that is what started my interest into the cryptozoology. And even though it was Bigfoot at the start, Loch Ness caught my attention, and I've always had a love for lake monsters since then. So,
Well, there you go. There you go. So how long were you at this campground?
we would stay there on the weekends. So we would drive up like on a Friday afternoon, be there Friday night, Saturday night, and then we would pack up and go home on Sundays. So it was kind of changed my opinions of camping after that. But now as an adult, I have no problem parking somewhere and sleeping in the back seat of my truck. Okay, I've got my miniature pincher and my toy, my little doodles with me. If anything approaches the truck, they're going to bark. I'm going to know, and something's getting hit in the head with a crowbar or something like that. So
There you go. There you go. So do you actually go out looking for Bigfoot?
I do. I used to do a lot more hiking. I've over the last year or so, I've noticed that my legs do not like to work as good as they used to. So when I do go hiking, I am concentrating more on the trail, so that I'm not tripping over roots or rocks or anything like that. And if I can see that, I've got 100 feet of smooth, even path in front of me or trail, then I'm watching the trees and I'm watching the woods around me to see, if I catch anything moving around. Woods have become, they've always been a nice place to relax and take a walk and exercise the dogs and do some bigfooting while I'm out there. Now I'm much more happy to sit on a beach, and watch out over the water and be like, okay, is that a lake monster? Is that, something out there? I like kayaking a lot more than hiking now. So it's interesting how as you change or you're dealing with injuries or stuff like that, how you approach different things. So I'm sure in the next year or so, as I get back, used to hiking, that, having a year off of not being able to do anything, because we were all told sit in your house and do nothing. And it was like, my body didn't like that. It was not happy. And now it's like, got to build up my muscles again to go hiking. And I do that at the zoos. I'm always, doing conventions and zoos and stuff like that. So, but there's a difference when you can walk along and only raise your foot up, like a few inches to clear things. And when you actively have to raise up your knees and clear branches and roots and rocks and stuff like that, you're much more likely to be like, I need my hiking sticks and, need to, get back used to climbing over those, things and balancing. So it, when you take a year off from that, it does, manifest in a different way. And it's like, oh, I wish I uh, had a nice trail close by to the house that I could have walked the dogs on to have kept active.
Yeah, it took a toll on everybody, I think, when they had to stay home.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, you never take that, that enjoyment of being able to go out in the woods and just, I can walk for miles. And I used to, like, I used to do 5Ks. I used to, walk my dogs, for 8K and, so that I could do the 5Ks. And now it's like, oh, you want me to walk a quarter of a mile? That's too far, You want me to
I
park at the end of the parking lot? No, I want to park as close as possible to the front door.
right? Well, up here in Minnesota, it's either too hot or it's too cold, so you want to park as close as possible.
Yep, I've done some because my mom is up there in Ely, Minnesota. She is the black bear curator at the North American Bear Center. So I've done some hiking in Minnesota, and if it's not the black flies and mosquitoes nipping at you, it's the ticks. And when I used to hike up there, I had like one outfit that I would always wear for hiking, and it was very lightweight and a very almost see-through um, cotton, pullover top that had a hood on it, but it was close fitting around the wrist, so kept all the ticks out. You could, close the neck area so they couldn't get down the shirt. And then I would wear leggings. I always wore sandals, but I could wear leggings, and I didn't have to worry about getting bit by black flies or mosquitoes or ticks or anything like that. You sweat, of course, but it seems like no matter what you do, it's like you either have insects to deal with or sunburn. So I'd rather block the sunburn and the insects and just wear something lightweight like that and keep them all off of me than have to worry about, is that a tick, and removing it.
Interestingly enough, up in the White Earth Reservation, they're talking about the lack of ticks this year, and last year was less too, but this year they aren't seeing any ticks at all.
Oh,
I'm wondering about Ely, if it's the same up there. You should find out from your mom for me.
I know. So she has a German Shepherd that lives with her up there, but she keeps her on the flea and tick medication. So she hasn't reported anything of ticks on them, but I don't know if she'd be able to see them on the bears or not, because she has bear that come right up to her house, and then there's live bears at the bear center. So I'll have to ask her if they've had an issue with ticks up there.
Yeah.
Well, last
It-
year there was a big explosion of ticks. So
Yeah.
I don't-
Plenty of them in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah, Tammy. Tammy
Yeah.
was just down there.
There was lots.
Lots of ticks. I haven't seen any ticks this year. So I guess I'm happy not to have ticks, but the natives and White Earth were a little worried about it because that's a big change in the environment.
Yeah, and there's things that do prey upon the ticks, like the possums and the birds. That that's a good food source for them. So I don't know. It's either, a pest or prey, and there doesn't seem to be a good, even balance between any of them.
Yeah. Well, mosquitoes are our state bird. I always say that mosquitoes are our state bird. Seems like they are. Anyway.
They are hungry and they're big, so
Yeah, they're fierce. They can be
they are.
fierce. Yeah. But thankfully, I live in town where I don't have to have them every day.
Yeah, I usually get citronella plants and put the, big potted citronella plants on my back porch. And this year, when I went to go get them in the spring, they said that there was a disease affecting citronella plants this year that was really bad. And they said, they like two of the nurseries that I usually go to warn me, don't get the citronellas. They're diseased, and it will actually catch into your other herb plants. And I also grow basil and mint plants, and I'm like, I can live without the citronella, but I do like to use the basil for cooking and the mints for teas. So I'm gonna have to pass on the citronella this year because I'm not killing off my stock of well established mint plants and basil plants.
Do you have a chocolate mint plant?
Yes, I
I
do.
love that.
Do you know I have a strawberry and cream mint plant? Oh, it's fantastic.
Is it new?
It came out about 5 years ago, and they have been able to keep it reproducing. But if you do a tea with the strawberries and cream plant or mint plant and the chocolate mint plant, oh my God, it's like chocolate covered strawberries. And
Okay, guys, I need recipes and I need to know where I can buy these things.
Oh, Jenna, just go down to your nursery down the road and ask them, and they come back every year. And
yeah,
you just go outside, you take a leaf off the plant, and you put it in your cup, and you pour boiling water on it, and ta-da, you have tea.
I used
What? You can make it? No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
But that's crazy. I should just go over there and say, hi, can I just test your leaves? Just a leaf here and a leaf here. I
yeah.
just want to see if I want to buy the whole plant.
You can crush the leaves in your fingertips and then put it in the boiling water. That releases the oils in it, and that's what produces the scent and the flavor. But yeah, it's and you can also add it to hot chocolate. Let me tell you, that is a game changer.
I wonder
Chocolate
what
mint,
Bigfoot would think about that.
chocolate mint, hot chocolate, and strawberry and cream mint. Oh yeah, that is a good one.
Maybe
Oh,
it's
that sounds
something
good.
to gift, and you never know. Maybe to gift some tea plants.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. So, have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
I have, actually, I have. And it was in Minnesota. So yay, you guys. And it happened. So the first time I went up to visit my mom in Ely, Minnesota, we actually had planned out a trip to go up to Winnipeg. And it was me, my mom, and her friend. So we had gone up to Winnipeg for, um, like, we left Friday night, got up there, did some stuff around Winnipeg. We stayed at a nice hotel that's up there, had a very nice brunch on Sunday, and then we were traveling home. But as we were traveling home, a storm, this was like the first week of November, a winter storm was coming. And at that time, I was driving the Jeep Wrangler, and I did not want to be caught in a Minnesota snowstorm in my Jeep Wrangler. So I decided I was going to leave early Monday
She,
morning at like 2 a.m.
Shetan,
Yes.
your sound is just went off funky. I'm wondering if you leave the call and come right back, if it would correct it.
Okay. Let me do that.
Okay. All right. We'll just hang on while she comes right back because I really want to hear this story.
She is so awesome. I just love
Yes.
hearing her. She's a great speaker.
Yes. Yes. So I hope that will correct her sound because it just all of a sudden she sounded that she was far away in a tin can.
Well,
All of a sudden,
I thought maybe it had come in unplugged. You know how sometimes it just comes unplugged just a little bit and then it ruins everything.
I don't know. I don't know.
Of like headphones. You've never had that happen?
I don't know if she's on headphones though.
I'm
Oh.
trying to rejoin.
Hey,
Hey, I can hear you. You sound better.
Can't see you.
I can hear you guys too, but it keeps blinking the. There we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
I
Yes.
can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So,
Hey.
yay! So we had just gotten home from our trip to Winnipeg, and I knew that a snowstorm was coming in that, following afternoon. So I wanted to be well on the road before that hit. So I left Ely around 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, to go from Ely back to civilization, you have to take a 2-track highway to Virginia, and then you get onto a 4-lane highway. So right as I came up to the on-ramp to get onto the expressway by Virginia, as I was headed up the on-ramp, my headlights caught. Now, the front of a Jeep Wrangler does not change. It was fog light, thick, furry leg, tall grass, thick, furry leg, fog light. Wherever the head and chest of this animal was, it was higher than what my head was in the Jeep. Now, standing outside my Jeep, I could rest my chin. I'm 5'8". I could rest my chin on the rooftop of my Jeep. So that is about as high as my eyes could see. The headlights illuminated up to about the lower chest of this creature. So the head and shoulders were above that. So in the 7-foot range. And I got a 15-second viewing of it. And then I was up onto the 4-lane highway. And then I stopped and I debated with myself, what did I just see? I knew that the bear were hibernating, so it wasn't bear. Moose do not have hair on their legs like that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Bigfoot. Then I sat there and thought, well, I could cut across the median, go down the other off ramp, come back around and get pictures of it. Now, at that time, my cell phone, this was probably 10 years ago. So we all remember the little Motorola or T-Mobile flip phones that just had the beginning camera phones on them. Not very good pictures, but for what they were at the time, they were pretty awesome. And I'm like, okay, do I do this or do I just keep driving? Because what if Bigfoot isn't in a good mood? What if he sees this as a threat? What if he flips my soft-sided Jeep over and I have to make a really bad phone call to my mom at 3:30 in the morning saying, can you send a tow truck? I'm on my side in a ditch because a Bigfoot flipped my car. And then how am I going to explain that to the state police who will show up? Nah, I'm just going to drive. And then as I'm driving from Virginia area down to Duluth, that's when kind of the apprehension sets in of, does Bigfoot realize that I saw him? And is Bigfoot like tracking me? I'm going 55 down, the expressway, but is he making a call out to other Bigfoots in the area? Am I going to have, those sci-fi movies, those scary movies start to play through your head of like, oh shit, maybe they are right in those movies. Maybe they do stuff. So I didn't really actually feel comfortable until I, got on the bridge in Duluth, went over to Superior, Wisconsin. I was like, there, Bigfoot, swim across that lake and get me. I'm going to across the UP. If you can catch up with me, then, you can throw a rock at me. And so that was my Bigfoot sighting, right there outside of Virginia, right there where the woods, start up. That is, where I had my sighting, and I got a very good look at him, at his legs, at his chest. And the only thing that I can compare it to is it was dark black, but it had, when my headlights shone on his fur, it had that rusty type coloration. So almost like a Newfoundland dog that, has been exposed to the weather, sun and rain, that burnt, coloration, that black fur will get to it if an animal's been outside long term. And the fur was not smooth. It was shaggy. It was ruffled. Looked like it was kind of matted in spots, and it wasn't the velvety, fine, smooth coat of a moose, or the bristly, shiny coat of a bear. It was, the closest thing I could compare it to was like a Newfoundland.
Wow. Well, with that note, we're going to go to our commercial break. We'll be right back in a couple minutes with Shetan Noir. Stay tuned. All right, good job. We should be at break now.
Okay.
The rust color of the fur is from the iron in the water, and that's also why their fur was not smooth, because that stuff is hard on your hair. You girls remember when we all had the same color hair?
That's so funny.
It was the water.
It was the water.
Our hair dye.
Out at my
funny.
lake place, there's so much iron in the water that it literally it stains my skin orange, and my hair gets bright orange.
I used to be a professional groomer, and Newfoundlands were the last thing you wanted to see walk through the door, because that meant 5 hours of grooming for less than $75. They were never worth the price. But black Newfoundlands were so popular that it was like that fur I have it, in my mind, and I know that is what the Bigfoot's fur looked like, was the coat of a Newfoundland. Kind of shaggy, but definitely with a little bit of undercoat in there, and that black but almost coffee brown color with, a sunburnt tint to it. And to me, that's an animal that's been outside in the elements for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Bigfoot probably isn't bathing with well water either. So, yeah. Watching for our go back to the live show. Yay. Do you girls have questions mounting in your head to ask her? No?
You're so fabulous. You're doing so fabulous. I just love listening to you. So as if I have a question, I'll pop in, but you're so good. You're answering them before I can even come in. So
welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She-Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at SheSquatchers.com? There you can go to our events page and see where we're going to be upcoming next. Well, we're going on a very private expedition to film a documentary in September. So we're going to be out in the field for a while. You'll know because we won't have a live show. Anyway, and then in October, we're going to be in Washington State at the Yakima Valley Bigfoot Con in Toppenish, Washington. It's finally happening. I cannot wait. They're featuring our remote viewing there, so it'll be remote viewing for people there at the reservation. It's going to be held at the casino right there in Toppenish. So can't wait. Come out and see us. Love it. And then in in December, we're going to be part of the 168 in Florida, which we're all looking forward to that. So we'll be in that documentary as well. So I'm kind of worried about going down to meet the skunk ape, but I'm willing to do it. But let's get back to the show with Shetan Noir. Shetan, you were telling us more about your Bigfoot sighting. Was there more to that story?
No, that was about it. And then, so every time I go up to Ely, which is usually at least once a year, I am always on the lookout for, in that area of, am I going to see one? There's everything else. I've seen bear, fox, wolf, skunk, deer, all that crossing the road up there. And now I can add Bigfoot to that, category. And, Minnesota, it does have Bigfoots up there. I've talked to enough researchers up there that have had sightings and had activity up there. So they're up there. They're here in Michigan too. So
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're everywhere. But speaking of your first experience of seeing Bigfoot, how old were you when you saw him? I'm just curious.
that was only about 10 years ago. When I saw that, when we were at the campground, those were the movies were what scared me and had me hiding out in the bathroom. So if you really want to scare a child, show them, the Patterson Gimlin film and The Legend of Boggy Creek and tell them, yeah, those are living out in the woods.
I understand. I actually was really, really scared of there was a show about, oh gosh, piranha. And after I watched it, my mom and dad had a lake cabin. So we were always out there. Well, I had gone out with my science teacher and his daughter, who we were really good friends. Well, we had gone out and we were snorkeling, and I swore a sunfish was a piranha, and I almost choked to death. I just had to share that story because I understand with you completely.
Oh man, how many of us watched Jaws as a child and then never wanted to take a bath again because we thought for sure Jaws was going to come, out the faucet and get us.
I
You
lived
know, that
at the beach when Jaws came out. I didn't go in the water that whole summer.
yep.
I
And,
actually had a shark encounter when I was a kid.
oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, like my stepsister and my dad was stationed in California at the time, so we were swimming in the ocean, and I was pretty young then, and Dad made us hold hands because he kept saying the undertow will take you if you hang on to each other. So we were out there in the waves, and people started screaming and running, and she just grabbed a hold of me real tight and said, "Don't move." And I'm like, okay, I had no idea what was going on. And then she says, it's a shark. And I'm looking at this big fish, and it was big, swimming, and it was circling us. And I'm looking at it, and I'd seen Jaws. I'm like, that's not a shark. It was a hammerhead. It didn't look anything like a shark to me. And sharks look like Jaws, right? And so I'm like, that's not a shark. And she's like, it's okay. It's a hammerhead. They don't eat people. And then she'd turn her head and scream. Ah! And then she'd go, it's okay. They don't eat people. Ah! And so I didn't know why she was screaming, but, I believed her that they don't bite people. So I was completely calm. And, it wasn't until I was an adult and I was watching like Shark Week or something, and they talked about how hammerheads are the ones who bite people the most.
Yep.
And I'm like, you lied to me.
Oh my gosh, how scary. Well, you go, they actually come in very, very shallow waters. You wouldn't think they'd come in that shallow of waters, but they do. And you look down and you can see them. And the first thing you want to do is run. I mean, really, but
Well, that's like so last summer, June, I did a expedition out to Lake Champlain to look for champ. But before I got there, I had met up with some friends in Gettysburg, and we're like, "Hey, Maryland's not that far. Let's go down to Chesapeake Bay and look for shark teeth." So here we are on Chesapeake Bay, and I got the three little dogs, and I'm thinking nothing of this. I have them on like their 15-foot hiking leads, and I'm letting like my little boy dog swim out into the surf and come back to me, and then I'm like, "Huh, everybody's on the beach. Nobody's going out past their knees." And I'm like, "Oh, they must all be looking for shark teeth." And it wasn't until I was talking to like some other people, and they're like, "That's because there's sharks in Chesapeake Bay." And I'm like, "Shit." They're like, "There's bull sharks in there." And because they can do freshwater and saltwater. And I'm like, "You guys are never going swimming in Chesapeake Bay again. If I can't see the bottom of the water, then you're not going in." And so it was just like, yeah, I was kind of leery of that one. It was like, nope, we're not going back out into that water. So, and then Lake Champlain, the water was just way too rough to take the kayak out. So we were doing all the experiments off of the docks and stuff like that, which probably didn't do that great for the experiments because we were trying to do underwater experiments. And I'm like, no, really, if the lake was calmer, like flat, I would kayak out, put the underwater microphone out there, put the underwater speaker out there, and see if we could get some of the other recordings that other researchers have gotten Something in Lake Champlain makes a clicking sound, which is echolocation. And nobody's discovered what that is yet. So it was like, really wanted to do it, but at the same time, it was like, I ain't taking my kayak out there. Not in that choppy water, no.
Gotta be smart about it.
Yeah.
Well, those are so dangerous. Kayaks are so dangerous just because they're so small. If you were to be strapped in or go over, you're in trouble.
I like when like I'm a Virgo, so I overthink everything. So I've got two 10-foot kayaks and I've got an 8-foot. But what I did was I bought a outrigger outfitting for it. So it became an outrigger kayak. And then I also have a sail for it so you can get in back into shore very quickly, depending on if the wind is blowing that way. So I had all these gadgets and everything, for my kayak, but it was like, I've got the life preserver, I've got the paddle, but I don't really feel like being flipped into the water. So, if it was more than a 15-inch chop, I'm like, I'm not going out into it. So it's just, that's too hard to paddle, out into. And then you've got recreational vehicles zooming past. And it's like, no, I don't feel like dealing with that.
So have you ever took the time to look into the lake monster in Minnesota? Peppy?
Minnesota and Wisconsin have more than their fair share of inland lake monster reports. And Peppy, that actually runs from Minnesota down into Wisconsin. Now, I have driven along Lake Pippin, but I have not ever seen anything. Most of my research for lake monsters is the Great Lakes themselves, with the historical reports, the eyewitness reports. But these are, people don't realize how big our Great Lakes are. And they're actually, when they say that they're freshwater seas, that is a good comparison to the size of our Great Lakes, because people who don't live around the Great Lakes area just don't get it. They don't get how big these lakes are, that you can't see the other side of them. You just see miles and miles of open water. And these lake systems have their own personality and can stir up weather within an instant. And many a ship have sunk on the Great Lakes because they trusted the weather report. And it's like, never trust the weather report on the Great Lakes. So I do my lake monster hunting, but there's a lot of lakes that have reports of a creature living in them, and it takes time to get to every single one of them and spend time observing them. So as I do it, I try to cross one off, check one off the list and move on to the next one.
There you go. There you go. Have you ever seen anything when you're looking for lake monsters that makes you think, "Ooh, there's a lake monster here"?
Well, the thing that I love about lake monsters is essentially they are the Schrodinger's cat of cryptozoology, because you can't prove that they're there, but you cannot disprove that they're there, because most of these big, deep lakes will never be drained in our lifetime. So we don't know what's swimming in them. And just when you say, well, we know every species in the lake, somebody catches something and you're like, that's not supposed to be here. And yet you have a population of them living, and it's like, oh, well, we're just going to say that's invasive species. Yeah, but how did they get here? Were they introduced? Have they been living here all along and you just didn't realize it? There's so many interesting things, because you can tell a human population, nope, you're not allowed to cross this line drawn in the dirt right here, because then you're coming into our state or into our country. Explain that to animals, because they're like, no, we're just going to swim through or fly through or walk across it, and we're going to go where we please. And that's the cool thing about cryptids is you can say, oh no, Bigfoots are only in Washington state. No, they're not. And I always tell people, anywhere that you have farms, anywhere that you have agricultural sites, anywhere you have deer, you have the potential for Bigfoots, Dogman, and any other cryptid that preys on, prey items like deer. And they live everywhere. And that really freaks people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the questions that I hear a lot is, and it surprises me because we joke about it sometimes, but sometimes people will come up. A lot of times, actually, people will come up and say, "So there are more than one?" And I mean, this is starting to be like this is a question that's coming up more and more and more. Like if I mention Bigfoot, yeah, oh my goodness. So have you heard any crazy questions or questions that you couldn't answer, maybe?
So I got asked two questions over the weekend at my Paracon by the same woman. The first was, "Oh, there's more than one Bigfoot?" Just like you just said. I said, "Yeah, they pretty much are everywhere." And then she paused, and I could tell she was thinking up another doozy. And she said, "So, like, do you go out and talk to them and have conversations with them?" And I said, "No, most of the time I observe them because they're observing me. And then I make my extraction plans because typically, if you're in their territory, you are a threat, and threats get dealt with. So I've seen you. Now I am going to quickly go back the way I came to my vehicle and leave the area because I do not want to get any animal in trouble by stirring it up or making it aggressive. And, you know, we see too many times, especially at like Yosemite or Yellowstone or any of the people approaching bison. Like, hello,
Yeah.
it's a cow. It's a wild animal. It will trample you or gore you to death with its horns. And yet people walk right up to him or patting him and touching him. It's like, no, you know. And she was dead on serious. Do you go up and talk to them? Have you pet one? Have I pet one? No, I like living. Okay. You
Yeah,
know,
but she really asked. So she asked if you pet one. So she's under the assumption that this is a thing, not a being, like an animal, not a
I guess
humanoid.
it's like you're at a paranormal conference, so I know you're there to learn, but seriously, read a book. Watch a TV show on Bigfoot or something like that. Get a broader sense of what they are. Because I like my personal assistant was sitting next to me, and she said she could literally see the explosion in my head of like, what? And she's like kneeing me, like, please be good, please be good. And I was like, no, I haven't pet one, and I don't generally have conversations with them other than, okay, I'm leaving. I mean you no harm. You're safe. I'm not a threat. I'm going back the way that I came. Please do not harm me. Which is, I would be having that conversation with a bear. I'd be having that conversation with, any large mammal that I come in contact with, in hopes that it stays where it is and allows me to leave.
There you go. So what do you think that Bigfoot is?
I think that Bigfoot is a natural occurring species that is part of the primates, but has decided to go because humans are primates too. And we know that primates covers everything from chimpanzees to great apes to orangutans to the little tiny guys. Uh, and they are dispersed all around the world. The only continent that really doesn't have them, or so we think, is North America. But we have more sightings of a Bigfoot creature or Bigfoot activity in North America than almost anywhere else in the world. So I say to, the cynics and the science community, if people are having all these sightings and having all these interactions, good or bad, then how can you discount it and say that they don't exist? Especially when we have proof in the fossil record that other upright walking bipedal primates, human beings included, are here on Earth. And we have the fossilized remains, but we're still discovering new fossils every day, new species of the fossil record every day. So how can you discount that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever a particular culture calls them? I will refer to them as that for, because we're in North America. But, you've got the Yeti, you've got the Yowen, you've got the Amasti. All of these cultures have a name for these creatures. The First Nations people have a name for these creatures. Other native civilizations in other countries have a name for these creatures and have drawn them. So you're telling people throughout history, going way back to the most primitive upright walking humans to advanced humans now who use computers and drive cars, that we're making it up and we're seeing things. I believe that. Now, I do think that there are interdimensional beings that look like Bigfoots. And I do think that there's alien creatures that look like Bigfoots. And here on Earth, it just depends on the circumstances in which you encounter them as to what you are actually interacting with. Because sometimes with reports of Bigfoot, we also have Bigfoot and UFO reports all in the same area, and people who see both at the same time. Or we have people who say, we could hear something following us through the woods that was quite large, and we couldn't see anything. We could see the tree branches moving, but we couldn't see anything. Well, that means something has the ability to cloak itself. And when they can leave abruptly, that means they have access to something that takes them to another portal. So that's interdimensional. And I think with Dogman, that applies a lot. I think Dogmen are interdimensional because we just don't have anything in the fossil record that shows a upright walking bipedal canine that can stay upright. Dogs can be trained to walk on their hind legs, and a lot of TikTok videos, the people who do that, they train these dogs from birth to walk on their hind legs, but that is not a natural ability of a canine. Bears can walk on their hind legs, but it's not a natural ability. It's something that they learn and helps them, but they don't have a human-like gait. They almost do like a jog because of the momentum that they produce. And it's like a hop, skip, jogging motion that, bears do when they walk like that. It's not a natural looking gait. Either is the upright walking, dogs that are trained to do that. It's not, you can tell that it's trained to walk like that. And these Bigfoot, these dogmen that people are seeing, they say they walk just as naturally as an upright bipedal as humans do.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that there is a huge portion of the Bigfoot community that are natural occurring. They are, they have ancestors from the fossil record. But I think there's also the ability that we've got alien species that look like a Bigfoot or a dogman. And I think there's interdimensional also.
So you don't think these alien species or these interdimensional species are connected to Bigfoot, that there's something different?
I think they are different. I think that they're, they might have possibly found a way to breed with them. But if they were breeding with the Bigfoots, wouldn't they possibly try to breed with the great apes or the orangutans or the chimpanzees? Because even though they're smaller, they are still a very intelligent, natural living species that are very adept at hiding in their natural surroundings. And there were reports of the silverback, gorillas for centuries, and scientists didn't believe that there was big apes out there until, lo and behold, biologists went out into the woods and found them. Just like they thought that there was no connecting species between the apes and the chimpanzees. Well, we do know that there is a species that it's very similar in appearance to the chimpanzees, but they are a little bit huskier, a little bit thicker. And we now know that they exist. So what else is out there in the natural occurring world that we just have not noticed yet, or nobody said, hey, you know, those exist, right? And somebody to fact find goes out to look for them. Look at how long the giant squid was thought to be a Norse mythology, the Kraken or Kraken. And now we know that not only is there the giant squid, there's the colossal squid. Giant squid are longer, but the colossal squid are more robust. They're rounder and thicker. So all these things, you know, that people dismissed as folklore, legend, stories made up. Moby Dick, the great white whale, that was thought to be an element of fiction. And lo and behold, we know that there are at least 2 pure white giant whales swimming around out there. And they are, yes, they are abnormal because they don't hide very well in the ocean. When you're that big and you're white, you don't really have the element of surprise anymore. But we do know that they exist. And, you know, when you're talking about something like a whale, they can live for, you know, just as long as a human being can or longer, depending on how well they can evade predators and humans.
True. We are coming towards the end of the show, and I want to give you the opportunity to let people know how they can reach you, how they could contact you, and how they could purchase your books.
So everybody can find me on Facebook. I am easy to find. Just type in my name, Shetan, SHETAN NOIR, and that will bring you to me. All of my books and all of my magazines are available on Amazon, and you can either type in my name, Shetan Noir, or type in Squatch GQ magazine, and that will bring up all of the current magazines I have available and all of my books.
Perfect. Perfect. So check her out on Amazon, everybody. And hey, there is an issue of Squatch GQ magazine that the She-Squatchers are in.
There is. That would be, actually, that was the first magazine that I published when I took over the company. So that is the winter edition of Squatch GQ magazine. So if you like the She-Squatchers, go check out that magazine.
Yay!
They're other easy to find.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It has been a joy having you on.
Yeah, what do you
Well,
have
thank
coming up?
you for talking to you guys.
Yeah, this has been fun. I hope you'll come back again another time.
Whenever you want me on the show, just send me a message and we'll set up a date.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
There we
Well, we
go.
want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next week on Wednesday. And check out our YouTube channel, everybody. Come subscribe. She-Squatchers Official on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.